It's that time again. I've been waiting for my show to come back on. And you know what we're talking about. We're talking about one of the best shows on TV right now. And that's Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul kicks off its season 3 with Mabel. I believe that's what his name. Kicking off from the season finale of the season 2 finale of Better Call Saul. Man, I just like Chuck getting Slippin' Jimmy on the recording of Jimmy just like spilling out his guts, man. Spilling out his guts of what he did in the previous season. And we pick off right from there where, you know, they do have a brotherly moment in this episode. It's Chuck and Jimmy. They have a nice little moment. You know, they actually don't hate each other. Even Saul says in the episode, like, yeah, man, there was 10 minutes of Chuck not really hating me, and I forgot how that felt like. I really like the beginning of this episode. You know, they always showcase him and his present life, and it was interesting because one of the kids like steals something, and he kind of turns him in, but then he says, "You better get a lawyer, don't talk." Like Saul, man, I wonder where Saul's present Saul is going to end up, and who's watching him, who's looking for him. I feel like Jesse Pinkman is going to make a cameo, but at the end of this overall series. So we had Saul in here doing his thing with Kim tackling the Visa Mesa, the case. I didn't really get, probably because I suck at grammar, what the whole period and non-period thing was all about. I'm absolutely horrible at grammar, so I didn't really get that necessarily. I did, though, love how the Air Force captain came back and just like ripped Saul or Jimmy to shreds. He's like, "Oh, dude, you fucking he wasn't even a vet. We're gonna be on your ass if you don't pull down that commercial." And Saul's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" Like, or Jimmy's like, "What are you gonna do?" Like, go for it, do it. That whole moment was just like kind of hysterical. I think the strength in this episode and the strength in this series is that because there's no action going on in this episode. The only action parts is like kind of Mike's parts, but the strength in this episode of how slow it is and how it's just really people talking to each other. Here's the difference between this show and The Walking Dead. Better Call Saul does a fantastic job with establishing characters, because when Jimmy and Kim are ripping on, talking, going back and forth, the banter, it's so much better than the beginning of this series. Like, I was just sitting there, I'm like, you know what, this banter, these characters, now well established, now we know the history of them, now we're here at this moment. This is good. This is really good. This is like, it's like 1 2 1 2 1 2. It's chemistry right there. There's chemistry that build from that first season all the way up to here, and it's great, because before I didn't really think Kim was that necessarily great an actress, but I love Kim. I love Kim, and I love her interactions with Jimmy, and especially with Jimmy and Chuck. Jimmy and Chuck, you know, they can just tell stories, and you're listening to it. I feel like a lot of people will be turned off by all this stuff, but for me, the dialogue and the interaction and the characters already established, like, it's on point. And if that's not on, if you're not getting into that, in this episode, we have Mike. Somebody's been tracking him, right? So this whole episode, he takes apart the whole car, which, in my opinion, I'm like, why didn't you just destroy the whole car in general? But Mike's not like that. Mike wants to know who the fuck is tracking him. So he's like going all over the car. He can't find this tracking device, right? So he calls for a cab, but then he goes back because he's in a junkyard. But he goes back, he's like, oh, wait a minute. And the gas tank, and smart writing, man. I mean, that's a smart hiding place, because it's the gas tank top. It's in there. So I would have never thought that. And I would have never thought, like, all this shit was in here. But, man, it was just great to see, like, Mike just losing it a little bit. Like, where the fuck is his tracking system? And not only that, flipping it on them and killing the battery of the original tracking system, buying another tracking device, and putting it in his car and following the person who's doing all this. So it's some crazy stuff, man. We're gonna find out who it is, and you know who it is. You know who it is. A lot of things are happening, man, especially with Chuck and Howard and how they were talking about over the tape. But Howard's like, well, you can't do this, you can't do this. Like, what do we got, Chuck? What do we got? I mean, he's a real son of a bitch, but what do we got? Chuck has something on his sleeve, somewhere, something like that. He has red. But like, I want to know what is this guy gonna do? What is this guy gonna do to his own brother? Then again, you could say that to Jimmy and Chuck, but man, I'm back, baby. We're back. Better Call Saul. This episode was a great episode. It was not a fantastic episode because, they could have really... A fantastic episode is some oohs, ahs, shocks, twists, whatever, with the season premiere. I mean, The Walking Dead does a great job in that. But with this episode, it was a great episode to get back into it and to really start talking about it. I mean, I love talking about Better Call Saul because it's such a great show and great dialogue, great characters, and this episode really showcases that we're back in the business, baby. We're back. I can't wait. So, thank you guys for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. Like the video, like it, comment below. Love to hear you guys' thoughts. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. So, until next time, till we talk more Better Call Saul. See you guys later.